It's a night in with Mauler and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen dinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop up the cork, have a glass of wine, I'll still say I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, Mauler and the critical drinker.
And I believe that's our cue. Welcome, everyone. I know it was kind of an accident last week when I just pressed for that intro, but I'm just going to use it. I'll probably do a modified version, actually, that's like more appropriate for last orders. But it is a night in with Mauler and the drinker, basically, because we're here to talk to you guys. You've got our undivided attention, or at least your super chats do. So here we are. But yeah, as always, we've got a bunch of super chats that we couldn't get through on the night of the open bar. And so now is the perfect time to try and answer your questions. So let's see what we can do for you. So the first one is from T-Rex, who says, just watched Independence Day for the umpteenth time. Can they make movies this good like this anymore? I mean, I'm sure they could, but man, feels like they're quite rare these days.
Well,
And Independence Day just absolutely gets you going. I think it achieves that nice balance between over-the-top spectacle and action, and a cast of actually quite likable characters played by good actors.
remember the sequel?
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Ugh.
Yeah, that makes me feel dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you do that? Yeah, the original, like I remember being a kid and watching it, and like that moment where they finally get through the alien shields, like they plant the virus and they're able to start hitting it with missiles and stuff. I proper was like, yes, USA.
Yeah.
It's just such a satisfying moment, you know, after getting their asses kicked like every turn throughout the film, they're finally hitting back. So that's good stuff. Jacob says, since you're not talking about 2002, I wanted to note the greatest event of that year, the release of the first Ratchet and Clank game. Also, Ellie's gay, by the way. Thank you for that heads up. Yeah, Ratchet and Clank. That's became quite a grand franchise. Everyone seems to have fond memories of that game.
Yeah, they're pretty bitchin'. Most of the games is pretty solid.
But on to more serious matters. For Pothole, who says, guys, why are you complaining about Star Wars when there's starving children in Africa? I know, asking the big questions here. Why are we doing anything when there's bigger problems in the world? I don't know. Should we all just shut down our YouTube channels now? What do you think?
Yeah, seems like the reasonable thing to do. I don't know.
Yeah. Patriotic Cat says, no one hates sports more than sports fans. Tards. Indeed. Muller's My God voice says, happy 4th of July to my favorite Brits, Blue Collar and RK Outpost. My question, though, why stop talking about male genitalia before the show? Very unfair to us ladies. Let's go, 0 seats. Yeah, I mean, well, we talked about them a fair bit during the show as well, so I think we made up for it, didn't we?
Oh, did you see the new episode of House of the Dragon, by the way?
Not yet. I've heard it's a goodie, though.
I wish to hear your thoughts as soon as you complete it, yes.
Yeah, I will have it watched in time for open bar, for sure.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Metal Face Rosie says, what are some of your favorite music videos?
Man, you know, what's the one where Christopher Walken's dancing in an airport?
Oh, man. Is that a Fatboy Slim one?
I think so. I remember seeing that.
Is pretty good.
Why did this happen? And I'm so glad this happened.
Yeah. Well, people forget, like, he has a background in dance, doesn't he? So he's actually really good at it. And yeah, he's got some moves going, does Walken. I'll go with that one. I like that one. Mm-hmm. Stay at Home Hippo says, media in a nutshell. Star Wars is for everyone and is a product for kids. Kathleen, male-dominated fan base. Disney Star Wars, shirtless to naked men and gay kissing on screen, removed overseas. Yeah. Know your market, I suppose. It is a bit insane the way it's gone. Master of Puppets. My super chat didn't get read last week, so I'll try again. Drinker, come to the dark side of Star Wars reviews. Let the hatred and bigotry flow through you to gain powers that some may call unnatural. I mean, I was under the impression that I was powered exclusively by hatred and bigotry.
Yeah.
So I would say it's already flowing through me. So, yeah. I do have many unnatural abilities as well, but I don't like to talk about them. T-Rex says, Drinker, having a drink of Jack to you, my friend. Thank you. I hope it was good. Baron Nefarious. Smoked meats and hard drinks. Happy the 4th of July. Krull is incredible. Thoughts from the boys? Krull. Have you ever seen Krull, the 80s fantasy movie?
I don't think I have. I've heard it referenced plenty, though.
It is... I don't know. If I had to sum up 80s fantasy in one film that just personifies it, it's Krull. It's just got everything. It's also got one of the most horrific deaths as well. There's a Cyclops who apparently his species traded in one of their eyes so that they could see the future, but the only thing they were allowed to see was how they were going to die. And so this guy knows how he's going to get killed. And he gets killed by getting crushed between two walls that are slowly like closing in. It's horrible to see. But he does that to save his friends. So even knowing what was going to happen to him. But yeah, Krull's a pretty decent movie. Got some pretty goofy special effects, but it's kind of what you'd expect from an 80s fantasy flick. Trash Talk says, I'd like to point out that when TFA was coming out, there were members of the Collider team that sold a shirt that I own of Kylo Ren cutting off Jar Jar's head. Simpler times, eh? I think they honestly thought this was it. They were gonna make up for the embarrassment of the prequels. Little did they know what lay ahead.
Maybe one day.
Yeah. Are we going to have t-shirts of like whatever hypothetical future Star Wars protagonist is cutting off Rey's head? I mean,
they'll never. Rey's going to get her own trilogy again.
She is all the Jedi and all the Sith and all of the Gungans. Steel Manning says, these people are opening a bakery because you like cake. Then they excrete on a paper plate and call it cake. You said you like cake. Why do you hate my cake? If you really loved cake, you'd love this. That's a pretty good analogy for Star Wars these days. Pie says, Leslie Headland laughs like Boris the Animal from Men in Black 3. That is all. Okay. That's all you needed to say, really. Hyrofmar says, I thought we celebrate today because today is the day that Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith blew up the mothership and the Americans found a weakness in the alien ships. That is what we were celebrating. I don't know about everyone else.
Yeah.
And it was a good day. Dr. Diddler says, America, fuck yeah. That's it. That's the super chat. Sense. And that's all it needed to be. Lyman de Coconuts. Disney apologists can't understand that writers could be the toxic ones. They set out to dismantle, tarnish, and discredit previous storylines and characters. That's inherently destructive. That's toxic. Fans just responded. It's the odds for every action. There's a reaction, and it turns out that Star Wars fans' reactions are quite a thing. And yeah, this just seems to be the cycle that we're in now. There's fan backlash, writers respond to it, or showrunners respond to it by lashing out. Then the Star Wars fans hit back again, and it never ends. Snex says, Ezra Miller, or Asian Ezra Miller, steps out of the water. Osha, I see that your Schwartz is as big as mine. Master Wolf, Collider has affiliate link to D+, paid to defend it. Yeah, funny how that works, isn't it? Drake Timbershaft says, remember, the Sithterhood is powerful. Are we ever going to see any of them again? Do you think they're
next episode is the assumption, because we've got to get that out of the other side of the story, right? And who knows if some of them survived, and they'll be getting their revenge on the evil Jedi. Surely something must happen, because Jodie Turner-Smith giving that big interview at Star Wars Celebration, like, I'm a powerful woman, yes. It'd be kind of funny if she was only in for like a little piece of one episode and that was it. Her character's just dead. I mean, not much of a showing, I suppose. Where to Wander says, when people like that say that Leia was wasted potential, it just means that she didn't get a super badass girl boss moment. She didn't get to destroy the Death Star.
That's pretty much what they're going for. It's like
they because we read that article on EFAB. There's very much they complain she's not the main character. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Which she isn't, so get over it.
And it's like, what do you want? Do you want her to just take over from Luke and do everything? Like, what's the point in him being the protagonist?
What I don't like about it is one can say Luke blew up the Death Star. More accurately, you'd probably say Luke and Han blew up the Death Star, because Luke couldn't have done it without Han. But then you start to think, well, it's the entire squadron that blew up the Death Star. And you're like, well, it's the entire squadron and the Rebel Alliance that blew up the Death Star. And you're like, yeah, no, all of that is true. All the components were necessary. Leia played her role, and she played it well.
Yeah.
It's dumb shit like this that really annoys me, because it reduces what is actually there. They start to like gaslight themselves into thinking, yeah, Leia was the character who was really only in the background and she did nothing. You're like, what the fuck you... Go watch the films.
Yeah. This is the idea, this is the methodology that blights so much of modern filmmaking, where it's like they would have to, the rules would dictate that Leia, or whatever her surrogate character was, would have to be front and center of everything. She couldn't just be supporting, and being a secondary character or anything like that. She would have to be in charge of everything and winning everything by herself. Like, that's why you end up with people like Rey.
Yeah.
Ace Whitey says, if you drop the twins from the plot, the show could have been interesting. A mysterious Sith going around killing Jedi. Instead, we got this shit. Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Pretty much.
It's almost like, the main character is the weakest aspect of this show, amongst many other problems. Jailer Kren says, sorry, no spaces. Was that Max's stuff? I can say I won't do it anymore. Favorite Macho America film. Also, happy get off our lawn day to you Brits. Have a drink on me. R.I.P. Star Wars. Macho America film. I mean, what was that one? Red Dawn. Yeah, that's where the American teenagers and stuff like literally fight off the entire like Soviet army. I thought that's about as macho as 80s movies can get. It's brilliant. Maybe Commando as well.
Commando's got to be up there, yeah.
John Matrix is clearly like not American, but he becomes a surrogate American, I think, for all of us. It's fine. Chimp says, guys, it's time that I owned up. I'm the toxic fan base. Just me. Everyone else is left. Being bi is not gay enough to enjoy the Acolyte, and that's homophobic of me. I know, you need to do better, man. You need to do better. Metal Face Rosie. A lot of Paul Simon's best songs were written about Carrie Fisher. Okay.
All right.
Peter Garombi. Shippers are a plague on fandoms. I have always found them to be the most toxic and insane people in a fandom. Yeah, man. I didn't realize how like super emotionally invested people get in shipping. Right? Until
I've never.
I think I made a few. Yeah, like I think I made a few comments about like the relationships in Final Fantasy VII, and fuck me, it was like a hornet's nest that unleashed. It's like if you say the wrong relationship combination, like woof, that's it, you're done. It's weird how combative people get about it. 200 Watt Studio says, guys, this whole show is Leslie justifying Harvey's crimes and her love for him regardless. The Sith guy is Harvey and she is the Acolyte. Yeah, there's a bit of Freudian slippage there, I think. Seki Jokes says, maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but I can't help but wonder if the Osha and Smilo Ren shipping is reflective of the writer's own retarded decisions. I mean, everything in the show is a writer's retarded decision. Ultimately, they wrote it, but yeah, the morality system is fucked in shows like this, where we're supposed to buy now, like, oh yeah, this guy's like a potential relationship for Osha when he's literally murdered her friends in front of her eyes. Sure.
It's just garbage.
Not a banned account says, it's the sexiest Sith since Kylo Ren. Cinema for the TV. I mean, he's probably in better shape than Adam Driver, to be fair, so I'll give him that. Obsidian Mug says, hey Mauler, enjoyed your Descent watch party with Neil Marshall. Any more movies that you'd like to watch with this director? Or its director?
Yeah. I don't even know that I would ever be against watching a film with a director just for the fun of discussing the process, but Neil was a great guest to have, and I'd be happy to check out some other ones with him. Yeah,
I think we talked a little bit about maybe dog soldiers with him if he's available.
we'll make it happen someday.
Yeah, but yeah, he's very generous with his time, and it's great to be able to talk to him about this stuff. Abstract says they're trying so hard to make Smilo Wang into Vader. It's just embarrassing. I don't know. Is that what they're going for with this? I don't feel like they're trying to make him into that. He feels like just a surrogate Kylo Ren, really.
Well, so you can trace the origin of all fucking Sith to Vader, right? Like the way that we do the pitch black clothing and the spooky mask, spooky voice sort of shit. But character-wise, obviously they believe they're making something brand new in that he's like, the Jedi, they think they have one way and the only way and the right way of viewing the Force, when really it's more complicated than that. And you sort of sit there thinking to yourself, oh, well, that is something interesting to explore if you do it right. They have not done it right.
No, they haven't. Edmund T says, hello, chaps. Nice to see awesome YouTubers at the top of their games with fantastic channels. And also Ryan. Signed, a poor fisherman with syphilis. Okay.
All right.
Ryan's at the top of his game as well. He's crushing it with his Acolyte coverage these days. Watchful says, but what about the droid attack on the Wookiee?
Indeed.
I don't know. In and Out says, will anybody of you be watching Axel Foley tonight? So Beverly Hills Cop 4. I will be watching it. I haven't seen it yet, though.
You have to let me know.
Yeah, I don't know much about it yet. I've been trying to stay away from reviews. Jailer Kren says, someone told me that C-3PO is Asian because he's book smart. Sure, yeah, let's go with that. Just like R2-D2 is a lesbian. Because Ace Whitey says, remember the good old days when the Woke Brigade focused solely on attacking Harry Potter? Anyone got any ideas that we can somehow send them back? Sadly, no, they're just everywhere now. Dirus says, Saul is the most racist character in the show. He's mocking the Nemoidians with how he speaks on screen. I mean, he's doing his best, to be fair. For an actor that couldn't speak English before this, I think he's done pretty well to learn the language.
Yeah.
But you can feel his struggle at times, can't you? It's like he's having a hard time with certain words, but I don't blame him. Red Dragon says, hey, Drinker et al. Love the show. Disney and Hollywood are whores for a nefarious global socialist political agenda. Change my mind. I mean, each to their own, I suppose. The Present Fathers podcast says, my daughter is 9. She doesn't ask to watch Disney Star Wars. She asks to watch The Empire Strikes Back. She's seen every movie, and that's the one that she thinks is best. I haven't let her watch a single show like Wokalite, though. Yeah, just keep her away from it. She won't enjoy it anyway. Let her stick with the happy stuff that will make her think kindly of Star Wars, I suppose. Ministry of Wrongthink says, this episode made me salaciously crumb in my pants. Sentinel Rex. So, how old was Smilo Ren when he got that scar? He is way too old to have been a Jedi a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, the actor is older than I expected, actually. I think he's 35. So I don't know if they're going to go for the character being about that old, but he looks younger than that on screen.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of hard.
We'll find out.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, like, it is kind of funny watching these, like, ridiculously young characters talking about being things a long time ago. You weren't even alive a long time ago. Paul Stramby says, only Stargrift can save Star Wars. Give the Acolyte budget to those 3 creatives and we will have entertaining Star Wars. Could you imagine what you, Ryan, in theory could have done with $180 million?
I feel like me, Ryan, in theory would actually... I don't know how cohesive that would be. The 3 of us have very different... If you watch the episodes of Stargirls, it becomes clear that all 3 of us have a very different idea of what Star Wars should be when you get down to the very, very nitty-gritty details. Like, we had a big conversation about, like, I'd be curious to know, what do you think should be the maximum amount you can force sort of lift?
Oh, okay. Is that a serious question for me right now?
Go for it. I mean, you don't have to be too specific, but...
So, I mean, Yoda can lift an X-Wing, and I would assume he's pretty much top tier in terms of your strength with the Force, so I'd probably use that as my benchmark. Like, anything heavier than that, I think that's going to cause real world building problems if you can just lift fucking entire buildings or whatever.
So funny. Apparently, because in terms of generations, I feel like Theory and Ryan are part of one, and that I slipped into the one above me, I guess, because I think as you, Gary, and me all feel the same. Yoda set the benchmark. That's about as far as we should be going. And I think Theory and Ryan prefer the big shows of power, and Theory likes the being able to pull down sort of like a Star Destroyer at maximum, you know.
The
To me,
thing is, once you do that, and particularly when they expand the number of Force abilities and stuff, like it just becomes so complicated, and it's so many things that you have to then account for. The Force just becomes this magical get out of jail free card for every writer who doesn't know what to do next, and I hate that.
I'm trying to explore in my own head. You know, rule of cool is like a intuitive way of saying, yeah, it affects the writing, but how fucking cool is this? There's got to be another law that's happening that people need to understand, which is that cool, it like has a shelf life, and it'll fuck things up in future then, because when it becomes normal, like when you first see a thing, much like Yoda lifting the X-Wing, it's like, holy shit. But in retrospect, it's not that impressive now because everything else has kind of dwarfed it with a bunch of other crazy Force abilities people have. And that's why it's important, I guess, to try and use it as a scaling device. It was supposed to be he has such a clear and level-headed understanding of the Force. He's so self-actualized, he's so imbalanced that Yoda could do something beyond fucking amazing, which is lift the X-Wing.
Yeah.
Which I prefer. I like the point of Star Wars being to do with that. Empire is obviously my favorite, and the points it makes about how we live our lives, right, in terms of going by an emotional state and satisfying our basic and volatile needs versus thinking, being careful, understanding, blah blah blah, all the nice things, knowledge and defense, you know, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that the idea is that ultimately it should probably offer you not necessarily more power, but you know, the whole dark side gets you there faster.
Yeah,
The light
yeah,
side
exactly.
is- I think that a lot of that can be torn away and then move into where Star Wars is now of, yeah, but what did the cool spooky guy do? Did he lift a tree? Did he lift a building? Did he lift a planet? I want to see the cool thing. And it's like, we're not even thinking about the points that it's making anymore. We're just going with power levels. Which, yeah, I think rule of cool can lead you down that road easily.
And that's the problem, really, for me. Like, cool isn't necessarily very deep, and it isn't very meaningful. It's nothing more than surface level spectacle. It's something that's neat in the moment, that looks good or whatever, and then it's kind of forgotten, but then the damage that it does is permanent. And if you start sacrificing story integrity and the integrity of your entire fictional world for moments of superficial cool, this is how you destroy your story. This is how you destroy your entire world that you've tried to create, because nothing has any meaning anymore. Everything just gets scaled beyond all reason, just to pursue the relentless pursuit of the next cool thing. It's not how you write stories.
You can create so many payoffs with the rules as stated, and you can have multiple Force users trying to do a thing together, which would lead you to bigger achievements. It's fine with me.
It's interesting to ponder, though. Jay Fraser says, "Hail, gents. Vinnie Jones turned down his return as Juggernaut in Deadpool 3 due to the physical and mental toll of wearing the suit and describing working on X-Men The Last Stand as a shambles." I mean, I'm not surprised. You could probably put anyone into the Juggernaut outfit, though, and have them play it.
He refused to return in what movie?
Deadpool 3.
Well, surely they would have offered him that he didn't. I would have to imagine technology is advanced such that they can give him a suit that's less painful to wear, right?
I would have assumed so. I mean, maybe they're trying to go with practical effects as much as they can on this one. I'm not sure.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, it's been, 20 years or whatever? They must have been able to figure out a better way to make the suit.
You'd be surprised how little things like that progress, I suppose. Like, once you get down to the level of practical suits that you wear, it's material science hasn't changed that much for 15, 20 years since the previous outing for him, I don't think. It'd be different if it was something from like the 60s or the 70s. Like, okay, fine, like prosthetics have improved massively since then, but
if it were me,
by the time you get to the 2000s, they've pretty much got it down to an art then.
If I were Ryan Reynolds, I would have flown out to meet him personally and been like, listen, okay, people thought you as Juggernaut was hilarious. And that
I'm
can
the Juggernaut, bitch.
That can be something you made fun of for when it happens, and then I'd show a bunch of examples. People will love you for it if you turn up and say that now.
It was kind of funny, actually, that like they tried for a while to make Vinnie Jones work in Hollywood. It's like
he's very specific, right? Like how you make him work. I'm curious what they'll do with him in The Gentleman.
I mean, you know, he works in Guy Ritchie movies. That's really his niche. Just keep him there. Warwick Dwarver says, I would salute NoFap Ryan, but I'm sitting on both my hands as it takes two strangers to get me off. That big, huh? TKG Moffhaus says, hey panel, happy 4th. I'm recommending Mauler, Drinker, or Panel to play Still Wakes the Deep. It's one of the best horror and best story-driven games of the year so far, in my opinion. Go play now. Right now. Go.
Damn.
So yeah, Still Wakes the Deep, apparently. Story Arc Welder says, may the wings of liberty never lose a feather. Jack Burton couldn't have said it better himself. R2 is Latino because he has the tool belt of diversity. That's Jailer Cren saying that. Southeastern Kaiju says, galaxies are generally 100,000 light years across. Yeah, they're big places, aren't they, galaxies? Big, yeah. Adam Norhead says, can't believe you guys are talking about Star Wars while children are starving in Africa. I know, we just keep doing it as well.
Sorry.
You know how many children have starved in Africa while we've just been doing this super chat catch up here? Probably a few, and that's unacceptable for us. Alex K says, please talk about his strength in the Force is very powerful line. Yeah, that's fucking god tier dialogue in that show. It was impressive. Yeah. His strength is powerful. and Andrew Graham says, Leslie Headland is just lumpy space princess from Adventure Time in real life.
Oh my god. Perfect. Friggy's gonna laugh he is that.
T1S says, happy Independence Day and an open bar just for the occasion. I had no idea that Mauler and Drinker were such patriotic Americans. Cheers.
Of course.
We're like honorary Americans. I mean, I'm wolfing down a hot dog right now, in fact.
Exactly.
Craig the Bad Guy says, cheers to the panel. Favorite villain death in movies? I would say Palpatine, Hans Gruber, and any of the bad guys in License to Kill. Those are all solid choices right there. So, yeah, favorite villain death? Palpatine's was really satisfying when he's getting zapped with his own Force lightning. I was like, yeah, you fucking fry, you prick.
Always gotta love the T-1000's death. It's fucking awesome.
It's awesome and kind of weirdly disturbing at the same time in the way it reacts.
Really makes you think.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of any other good ones. Yeah, I think probably Bennett from Commando, where he gets a fucking like steel pipe thrown through him and it goes into like a boiler behind him and it's like shooting out steam. It's just so ridiculous and over the top. It's like perfect. That just caps off that movie nicely.
Especially with the one-liner.
Yeah, let off some steam, Bennett. Dickie Bird, electrician. Thoughts on the Harry Potter TV show? Now a director and showrunner have been announced. Worked on Succession, Game of Thrones, and Ali G in the house. I could not give less of a fuck about the Harry Potter TV show if I tried, I think.
Yeah, Harry Potter's never been my thing.
Big Play Key says, Ryan, why aren't you barbecuing right now? I mean, I'm sure he rushed out after open bar and did it, so it'll be all right. Ministry of Wrong Think. Take it easy on Basil. He's got a hard life being a beaver in a universe where trees don't fall according to normal rules of gravity. Fucking Basil. Hate that character. Aurora Uplinks. You know, if we just had a TV show following a Jedi Master and Apprentice in a starship getting sent on missions for the Republic, solving crimes, that would be good fun. Yeah, imagine that. Every week a different crime. You know, be like Columbo, but with Jedi.
Yeah.
You can make it work. Just keep it simple. You know? Wen Lee says, Ryan's Star Wars knowledge is admirable. Makes me want to give the prequels another chance, but Disney Star Wars can go do one for eternity. I agree.
Fair.
Yeah, Ryan's knowledge is strong. His power is strong, you might say. Mitch says, seen Quiet Place day one. You ignored me last time. I am sorry. I didn't mean to. And no, I haven't seen Quiet Place day one. And I don't really have too much interest in those movies. Maybe I'm
Why? Is it
crazy.
because they're not good?
I have no idea. Like, I just not really watched them. So
They
don't
fail
know.
at their basic premise, which is to be a movie about how people have to be fucking quiet.
That's probably
And,
not a good start then.
Well, it depends who you ask, but like, I think it's retarded. The whole they live near a place where they can be as loud as they want, and they haven't moved there. That was beyond to me.
Okay. Thunderbow. What a fantastic day, combining my two favorite things, Independence Day and open bar. Have a beer on me, boys. Cheers, and God bless America. Indeed. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Dumb Luck says, did all of you see Theory's skit on Monday lying to the Jedi Council and Palpatine finding out about the sisters from Anakin?
Yeah, they're funny.
Aurora Uplinks.
He has when he plays Yoda, he's got a fucking little hat on the screen, and it's a Shrek hat. It's just like, yeah, that's funny.
Aurora says, she could have had Yoda go and attempt to assassinate the Emperor when he was on a trip to get a new apprentice to replace Anakin, and Yoda has to save Anakin as Palpatine's apprentice because he still has a faint sense of dread if Anakin dies, what it will cause to the Force and to the Chosen One. So that's his suggestion for a story idea. Albert Nada Retro. Whatever they want to do for a story is fine so long as you respect the established parameters and source material that came before. Yeah, I think that's always a good guideline, really. Newt says, happy birthday, America. To our Brits, happy Thursday, I guess. Yeah. Enjoy your not day off. Laughs in George Washington's surprise attack on Christmas. Cheers. Aaron Blades. Courage, gentlemen. What piece of media do you love that the rest of the panel hates or would hate if you were brave enough to ask? Cheers. That's a tough one because generally I think we're of like mind on most things.
Well, if it's about me and you, yeah, we'd have to figure it out. But if it's about generally speaking, what's the thing that you and I think is good that people tend not to?
I think amongst the panel, it's generally Andor.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people kind of shit on that. But then a lot of it is just like, I don't like the premise, or it seems boring, rather than like I watched it and I hated it, kind of thing.
That's the unique situation for Andor, is that you don't catch that many people who watched the whole thing and then did a serious like, fuck this show, it's terrible for all these reasons.
Yeah. Sonny Close said, stop calling him Discount Ezra Miller. Despite the show, the guy's worth 10 Ezra Millers. Go with Premium Ezra Miller. All right. You know what? For you, I will call him that from now on when I do my review of the next episode. Mercurial Funk says, it's wild how bad The Acolyte is when there's shows out right now like House of the Dragon and The Bear. Also, if you haven't watched it yet, Drinker, you should watch The Bear. Yes, I've heard it's good. So give it a watch. But yeah, I'm watching House of the Dragon. Very much enjoying it. Josh Kelsey gave us $10. Thank you. Hephaestus Rising, Schrodinger's lore. It exists and doesn't until explicitly shown to exist or not. Lazy. Yeah, it must be great to be able to pick and choose what's real and what isn't in Star Wars. Jay Fraser. For the 4th of July, which of the following films is the most patriotic of all? Top Gun, Rocky IV, Field of Dreams, Independence Day, or The Patriots? Those are some top choices there, man. Top Gun makes me want to invade a Middle Eastern country. It's awesome. Rocky IV, that literally ended the Cold War. So, I mean, beat that. Field of Dreams is just a beautiful little movie. I wouldn't say it's patriotic necessarily so much as it's just a nice character-driven fantasy story. Independence Day, that's saving the entire planet. Or The Patriot, that's got a guy getting run through by the Stars and Stripes. So, might have to give it to The Patriot, you know?
For me, it's probably The Patriot or Independence Day. But I am partial to The Patriot. A lot of that film, they keep repeating the themes of freedom. Still very much the main point.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Brits getting beat?
I love the fact that British play excellent bad guys. So you're not going to get mad about that. I don't know. The British accent truly is perfect for evil characters. And I say British accent as if that's even an accent. It's not, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, the upper class Brit. Yeah. Zach Muffin. Hello, Mublishian drunkard. Never forget that the two of you led me to the fellowship, so that officially makes you part of the alt-right sludge line. Mauler, you better not pull a George and never finish the TFA review.
As I said on the stream, it's not a story. It's me shitting on a film and making some points about the broader matter of the industry, which you'll get. And I'm sure everyone will be very happy that it'll be completed, quote unquote. But it's okay. You're not going to hear anything that's going to blow your mind. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, though, all the same. Mr. Darkinson says, Ahsoka told Mando that it would be better if Grogu doesn't train and loses his powers as a result. But then in TLJ, we had a kid that was using the Force on his own without any training whatsoever. So it's kind of confusing. I know. It's like it was written by a whole bunch of people, none of whom actually care about Star Wars world building.
What?
I know. It's crazy, but there it is. Alex Andrews says, Happy Treason Day, Drinker, you magnificently loquacious miscreant. Thanks for suffering through Disney Star Wars so we don't have to. Any chance for more Drinker fixies for Ahsoka, Kenobi, or Acolyte? Yeah, I'm definitely up for doing more Drinker fixies. I suppose I should just put it to my subscribers and say, what do you want me to fix next? Because there's a bunch of them I could pick. I guess I'm just curious what's most in need of fixing. Because I think with something like Ahsoka, it's like, oh God, I'd have to rewrite the whole show. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
even know
pretty boring
if
to fix that too, because it's just like, well, I guess I'd make a whole new story.
Yeah, and then it's cheating. Really, it's just my ideas rather than like tweaking it a bit to show that you can make things a lot better with a few writing tweaks. Larry says, "Made you look. Confession: I enjoyed Bridgerton. I'm a sucker for writers writing stories about writers. I didn't need to see the big, pretty redhead boobs, though. I mean, yeah, we did. We needed to see that, but Bridgerton, never really watched it, so I don't know if it's good or not. It's obviously made an impact, though." Pathkeeper. Drinker. The Acolyte gave you the best way of describing the open bar with the witch's chant. The power of Drinker. The power of Mauler. The power of chants. There you go. Dan DeSeal. I love how both Barbie and the Acolyte were female-made projects for females, and the main characters are the popular, interesting characters. The male characters, yeah. Yeah, it's funny how that works, but I think the villains are usually more interesting. Avarith says, I find it plot contrivance to spot a tiny group of knights from a dragon. The wind alone would make your vision zero. I can buy spotting an army. That did get me a little bit. I think she saw the glint of their armor, like the sun shining off it, but even that's a bit tenuous.
I actually think they probably weighed up whether or not it would be more immersion breaking to not give them goggles or to give them goggles. As in, if they had goggles, it would feel like tech that's too advanced for that era. But theoretically, it's not impossible that they could construct something like it that would get the wind not ruining them when they're that high up and going that fast. But something that scene does that I appreciate is the dragon notices first, and it signals to Bayla, and then she looks.
Right, yeah.
Which I think the dragon noticing is much more reasonable.
Yeah, I think so. I can imagine they've got like insane vision that's beyond a human range, but yeah, I like the fact that they're able to outrun it as well and get into cover of the trees, and the dragon's forced to like swerve away at the last moment to avoid a collision. It's nice that they're not just all conquering super weapons that can destroy anything instantly. So that was nice. Ebb says, since they showed the vein of cortosis, do you think they're just going to rip from Zan's canon Thrawn book and have the good characters accidentally devastate the planet? I don't think so. I think they're just going to leave that place and go on to the next place.
Yeah, with the way Disney usually do things is they've shown us that vein to justify why he has it without realizing now that we're all thinking, wait, so as soon as you just mine that shit, you know? And then they'd be like, no, we're never going here again. You'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Never, don't think about it again. Just get to the next show. John Everett, The Stranger. No better way to describe Disney Star Wars. Cold, mostly lifeless, meant to be satisfying but ultimately disappointing. Cheers, Valiant Crew. Dead franchise. Lego My Bacon says, by Sunday, I'll have written all the lyrics to my diss track against the Acolyte. Thanks for inspiring me to do this. I'll post it under Clomshy. Cheers. Nice. We love a good diss track. Peter Garombi. The greatest bit of comedy is when George R.R. Martin criticizes Tolkien when he can't even finish his own series. Yeah. It's a bit of a dangerous author to criticize, really, is Tolkien. Like the most respected fantasy author of all time. Yeah, sure. Lucifer says, the Akoshite is peak DEI, delusions, exclusion, and indoctrination. Yeah, and also shit. Lost says, happy America Day. What are some of your favorite fuck yeah America movies? By the way, YouTube won't let me quote a poo. Show your love of country quote. That's interesting. Yeah, so I think we talked about this before. Peak, like, patriotic American movies. We had, like, Top Gun, Independence Day, The Patriot, all pretty solid choices, I would say.
Yeah.
Texas Sam. Just did a tour of the Scottish Highlands, and by God, have you all been sleeping on it? Makes me want to move there. Edinburgh was also a blast. Can't wait to visit again. Nice. The thing is, like, living here is different from going on holiday here, you know, so don't be fooled by it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Highlands are very pretty.
There's a shit in America that's amazing to look at as Europeans, but the Americans will be like, "What? We see that every day." And you're like, "Oh, right, yeah."
Well, yeah. Totally.
Everything's different for everybody.
Jay Fraser. Is Connor the Wesley Crusher of the Buffyverse?
Connor's probably worse.
Ooh,
Probably.
really?
Yeah, it would depend. I'll be able to tell you that once I go through TNG, but I know the memes with Wesley, but Connor is a fucking tumor on the Buffyverse as a character. You would agree if you knew what he was.
Okay. Ace Archer. Drinker and Mauler, do you ever get stuck in your writing, video, book, or otherwise? What do you do in those moments if you get them? So if you get writer's block when you're doing a script or whatnot.
Same thing I do with almost every problem that relates to production. Try and break it down into smaller problems and try and solve them. That's my primary way of getting past issues.
I think for me is you usually take a break as well, go off and do something else, clear my head, and then come back at it fresh. Usually helps quite a bit. Connor Arnold. Hello there, long-time listener. Is it just me, or have lightsabers gotten chunkier in Disney Star Wars? They look so much bigger when compared to the ones in the OT and the prequels.
So they definitely have noticeably gotten much chunkier. I've heard the theory that this is because they better match the ones they sell at the what Disney sell as their standard Star Wars now lightsabers.
Yeah,
I don't know if that explains it or not. I wouldn't know why they've done this, but I do not prefer the chunky lightsaber compared to the like prequel and OT level ones.
Thing is, have they gotten chunkier, or have the actors gotten smaller?
I'll get my science team on it.
Because, you know, you got a lot of little girls here who are like 5 feet tall with lightsabers, and yeah.
Are you saying that Mog is not an impressive man?
I mean, he's a bastion of masculinity right there. I know, but I'm going to guess that he's got small hands.
I hope they make Mog a Star Wars story.
Yeah, just him like bumbling his way through everything and shitting himself at every problem. Zeddy Boy says, Twisters, they're back with a twist. I know, I can't wait to see this insanity. Energy Knows Best says, hey, Glacier, I'm putting you on ice, he said coolly. I like that one. James Gould. Inside Out 2 was back to classic Pixar. My kids loved it, and it pulled some tears from my wife and I. I recommend the movie. Nice.
All right.
Good to know they made something good. Mr. Bean, we're watching a real-life version of The Producers here, only it's DEI ESG bilge is Springtime for Hitler, and it's working as intended this time. Yep. Gatekeeper, big fan of you guys, although Gary is my favorite. Oh, fine. I was already subscribed to all of you. I've already joined Drinker, Ryan, and Platoon. Mauler, you're next. I wish you all continued success and good health. I like how that came out as a threat. MW Balls, happy Freedom Day. This holiday is weird in Alaska because it doesn't really get dark enough for fireworks at this time of year. That is quite the problem, actually, yeah. I sympathize. Larry, in honor of American Independence Day, say he has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. There you go. Brent Neindorf, glad you made it through the 100th episode event. Now you can go back to phoning it in again. Haha, congrats. Appreciate the work and thoughts, folks. Thank you. We never phone it in. We kind of transmit it in over the internet. Chris Nicholson, I think the initial appeal of Game of Thrones wasn't so much that characters had happy or sad endings, but rather the results of their actions were the natural consequences in that world, both good or bad. I think that's fair, yeah.
Well, I mean, you get that with House of the Dragon, I think.
Mega Spidey Man, what would your ideal Iron Man 4 and Cap 4 be? I think I wouldn't want them at this point.
Well, they said ideal, right?
Yeah. I don't know. With Iron Man, I want to see him take on Earth-based problems, preferably using a lot of gear porn, and I want human enemies, preferably in some kind of like equivalent Iron Man suit that he has to fight. I'd be happy enough with that.
I would have liked to take advantage of the intervening years before Infinity War, meaning Tony is increasingly under pressure from having to work with the government before deciding where the line is going to be crossed for him, and that Cap is actually more comfortable than ever being in a vigilante Avenger with the help of Wakanda for secrecy and technology. Obviously, the story. So this is arguably you get maybe this both sides of it, and then maybe an Avengers / civil, whatever you want to call it, movie that puts them similar to each other. But Iron Man's story, I'd probably prefer that he's desperately trying to move governmental policy further and better to free and to support heroes that are doing things that are well beyond the scope and understanding of the government. Like they don't appreciate the kind of battles that the heroes are fighting, while simultaneously Cap is having to, do important missions while also the US government are now like a threat and a ticking clock wherever he goes. And what would be really cool in the Cap movies if we send in people like War Machine or other lesser known heroes to basically try and stop Cap from whatever he's doing, create a lot of drama there. I don't know what the point of the movie would be overall. Probably that better to be free than, powerful in a cage. Let's put it that way. And then the Iron Man side of things, I wouldn't mind spiraling him a little bit further because he was already losing it in Civil War, to advance his tech to I think it's called Bleeding Edge, where, I would want him to maybe have an accident where, because he's already injecting shit into himself in Iron Man 3 for the remote control. And I kind of want to take him to a place where the suit starts to meld into his skin somewhat because he's making.
I can see that. The suit starts to take over, and it's the one controlling him almost.
Yeah, no, I'd absolutely want to explore all of that. And then, of course, the movie where they would clash again significantly, but this time, through whatever's happening, decide that. And this could be rewritten Infinity War to include it, or Endgame, but they get brought back together to overcome something huge, something like that. It's always a story I was hoping they would deliver, but Endgame has one scene really to deal with the outcomes of Civil War, and they do it really quickly. They're like, "Hey, let's be friends." Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's not great. Next one. Genmai Cha says, "God save the king and hail Britannia." Fuck yeah. Jedi Brooks says, "The world's strongest man is a Scotsman, Tom Stoltman." Oh, nice. The governor says, "In my local pub, several pints down. This is the only way I can watch and review the latest episode of The Acolyte." Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it, really. Definitely include alcohol. Mo Sislak says, "Hi, drinker. Penis." That is all. That's all we need, really.
Said.
Yeah. Uizavar says, "What's your guys' opinions on this review boosting that's happening on The Acolyte? Most of them are just attacking people who hate The Acolyte." Yeah, I mean, they've removed the Rotten Tomatoes score altogether now for The Acolyte, I believe. So it was only a matter of time until they did it. It's funny how these major review aggregator sites will just totally play ball with major corporations because they asked them to. It's really, really renews your faith in their integrity. Sigma Bet Soup says, "So if the Acolyte portrays the Jedi as evil and it's also known as the gayest Star Wars ever, does that not make gay Jedi evil too? Glad the Jedi in Lucas's aren't evil." Yeah, I mean, that's where it gets contradictory, I suppose. We'll never know. Albert Nada Retro, "Captain Marvel should have done the snap. It takes and knocks her out. No Professor Hulk, so when Thanos calls for rain fire, he sees his friends in danger and finally causes Bruce to turn into the Hulk and smash everything." That would be interesting, actually, if Captain Marvel did the snap. I don't think it would even hurt her.
Probably not.
Ran out of channel names. Hello, all my Sith words. Thank you. Nicholas Reiser says, "I'm down with all the kilometer. Kind of badass, actually." Okay. Larry says, when Smilo did that big force push, Jedi Fatty should have been unaffected, then force pushed him back. It would have been funny and badass. That would have been fucking brilliant, actually. It's like, he's too enormous to shift. Jacob
They
Jazz.
all go flying and he does a little wobble. Like, whoa.
Yeah. The story would be better without Osha and May. Just have it be Chimere versus the Jedi and have Squid Game as the protagonist. Osha and May add nothing. Yes, that's exactly right. Larry says, break it that rock, smash rock slide. Sentence commuted. Sounds good. And Nicholas Reiser says, I don't drink cleaning fluid, but thanks, man. Happy 4th. Yeah, you too, mate. Appreciate it. And that was the final super chat there.
Well.
We made it to the end. Thank you, everyone, for your lovely super chats. We appreciated that. And thanks for asking us the really thought-provoking questions, which we appreciate as always. Like, what is the most badass all-American movie of all time? That's what we wanted to know. But the next time you see us, I imagine we'll be on the next open bar on Thursday. So I'm sure it's going to be a doozy with the next episode of The Acolyte coming out. But yeah, there's a bunch of new trailers and stuff as well that have come out, especially for Gladiator 2. So we'll save our thoughts until then. But for now, that's all we got for today. So go away now. Bye.